Welcome, everyone, to the Fantasy Forecast Show. I am your host, the coach, Philip Kraft. We are breaking down week one of the NFL games. If you missed our Thursday night breakdown, too bad for you. It was a really good breakdown. My game flow was almost right on. The only thing that I got just a little bit wrong from Thursday night was I was expecting Williams, the running back for Kansas City, to do a little better than what he did, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I was expecting him to have a good game, but I wasn't expecting that type of good game. So that was about the only thing that I got wrong for Thursday night. But now we're talking about Sunday. What I have done is I have done the math, and those that have watched our NASCAR videos, I do a lot of math in the NASCAR, and I go by the numbers. So what I've done is I've taken our worst defenses against the pass in 2019 and our worst defenses against the rush in 2019. I looked at rushing yards allowed and I looked at touchdowns allowed. And I combined those two to get the best matchup that we could possibly get. Now, this doesn't necessarily have your studs. It may not. So your studs, you still want to play your studs. Your studs are going to be your studs. They're going to be getting the points. But your studs are really expensive. So here we're going to be diving in a little more and seeing some matchups that we may be able to exploit or may be able to save some money in DFS. This can actually help you also in season long. I know for me, I'm a season long player and a DFS player. I love both. Football is my jam. For those that don't already know, I was a football coach for many years. I was also a player for many years. My concentration was the offensive side of the ball. I was also a defensive coordinator for a couple of years, just because that's where I needed to be. But for the main part, I was an offensive guy. I loved being an offensive coordinator. I loved the chess match of calling plays. And right now with DFS and fantasy season long, I love the strategy of it. The only reason why I don't do it anymore, and I stopped coaching, is I've got a daughter that's 7 years old, and I stopped coaching when she was very little because I was coming home after coaching. She'd already be asleep. That is time I'll never get back. So I enjoy doing this now. It doesn't take me very long. I get to spend time with my daughter, and sometimes she even likes to come in and help me and give me some picks of her own. So it is kind of fun. So let's dive in, shall we? Worst defenses against pass 2019. The worst defense that I have is Cardinals. Now they're playing the 49ers. The opposing quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo, and we can also target Kendrick Bourne and the tight end George Kittle. George Kittle is your stud tight end. He's going to be rather expensive for a tight end. But if you look at some of these other guys on here, they're a lot cheaper. You might be able to fit George Kittle into a DFS lineup. So that is the matchup we would like to exploit right there. It is the best matchup, and the game flow should be pretty fast-paced. The Cardinals are going to want to throw the ball. They've got DeAndre Hopkins on the other side of the ball, so they should be chunking the ball around too. A fast-paced game, and since they were the worst against the pass for yards and touchdowns, why not go with Jimmy G? He's a good quarterback. The wide receivers are a little banged up. Kendrick Bourne's about the best they got, but George Kittle, he's your stud. Definitely like some Kittle. All right, your number two worst defense against the pass is the Lions. They're going against the Bears. Now, I know Mitch Trubisky does not look like a sexy name right there, but hear me out. Their running backs are banged up. Montgomery is banged up. I don't know how much run he's going to get. Tariq Cohen, he's more of a pass-catching back anyway. So the Bears are probably going to have to throw a lot. And they've got Allen Robinson and Miller right there at the wide receivers. I'm not too concerned about a tight end. I didn't put a tight end there because I don't really think that's going to be the matchup you want to exploit. Robinson is your stud. I own a ton of Robinson in season long. Very excited about that. I'm playing him a lot in DFS this Sunday. So Allen Robinson is going to be one of those lock guys for me. Trubinsky, I don't have a problem playing him. If you're playing a millionaire maker, you're going to need some of these guys like a name like Trubinsky to win it because the big names, which we're going to talk about one big name that can win it for you in just a minute that you don't see right now. But a lot of times for Millionaire Maker, it's these different names that just have a big game. They've got a good matchup. They have a big game. So don't be scared to use Trubinsky this week. I'm not telling you to go out and get him in season long. That's not what I'm saying at all. It may not be a good matchup next week. He's not that great of a quarterback. But 2 years ago, he had a great year. The scheme was great. I don't know what happened last year. The wheels came off. But he may be able to find it back again this year. So do like Trubinsky. Then we're exploiting the Dolphins. They've got the third worst defense against pass in 2019. They're getting better. Last year was a rebuilding year. Tank for Tua. I guess it kind of worked. I live down here close to Miami, so I'm around a ton of Dolphin fans. My 7-year-old has told me that she's a Dolphin fan. So I've taken her to some games. It's fun. I enjoy the Dolphins too. I'm not from here, but I've been down here for over 17 years. So I've kind of adopted them because being from Alabama, we don't have an NFL team. So I've adopted the Dolphins. I do like them. They're a sentimental favorite for me, but their defense sucked last year. Opposing quarterback, they're playing the Patriots. Cam Newton. I like some Cam. Cam can really show off. I think he's going to want to prove something tomorrow. Now he could be pushing too hard. That is a possibility, but I do like it. Now, as far as wide receivers, the only one that I will play at a wide receiver position for the Patriots is Julian Edelman. There are way too question marks on who's going to be getting the ball, but reports out of camp is Cam Newton and Julian Edelman are hooking up. So fire up some Newton, fire up some Edelman. Love it. Now we're going to exploit the Buccaneers. They're playing the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees. Old man Drew Brees. Dude's older than I am. All right, I'm 41 years old. He's older than I am. Now, he's in a lot better shape than I am, but he's still old. I think he can still sling it. I think it's an exploitable matchup. It's either going to go one or two ways. We're either expecting this one to be one of those high-paced, fast game, Drew Brees going up against Tom Brady and chunking the ball all over the place. So it could be a popular pick, and it could fall flat in our faces, and we have two teams that don't even score 20 points. It could be a possibility. But right now, we're just looking at what we have. Last year, Buccaneers sucked against the pass. And then we got Drew Brees. And then for wide receivers and tight ends, we've got Michael Thomas, stud. Emmanuel Sanders has been a stud. Jared Cook, stud, tight end. So you've got a lot of weapons for the Saints. Michael Thomas is going to get his. And then is Sanders and Cook. I would not be playing all three wide receivers and tight end. If you want to use one of those wide receivers and Cook or both wide receivers, it's tough. If you think that they're just going to be chunking it all over the place, yeah. But you got to remember they've got Alvin Kamara in the backfield. So there's a lot of mouths to feed for the Saints. Thomas is your safest bet right there. Just be careful. Realize that a lot of mouths to feed. Week after week is going to be some different guys there, but Michael Thomas is going to be your steady guy. We're just talking about this week. I would pick probably just one of those guys, and you can pair him with Drew Brees in a DFS lineup. That's fine. Then we get to the Raiders. They sucked against the pass. Opposing quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, now with the Carolina Panthers. And look at there. I already misspelled a word right there. DJ Moore, that should be an E right there at the end. That's your wide receiver for Teddy Bridgewater. And you got Robbie Anderson coming from the Jets. Fast wide receiver. Could get behind the defense for Raiders. Their pass defense was not that good. Now, they have had some good additions to their defense, so they should be better. So watch out for that. And then you got Ian Thomas. The Raiders historically haven't been that great against the tight end. So Ian Thomas is definitely in play today. I don't know what's going to happen with Teddy Bridgewater. He was in a great system last year in New Orleans when he was filling in for Drew Brees. He did okay before that when he was in Minnesota. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. Did okay. So what's he going to do now? Your guess is as good as mine. I'm kind of a wait and see what's going to happen week one. But if you're playing one of those huge GPPs and DraftKings is pumping them out, these multi people GPPs. Woo, man. But lots of money involved. So somebody's gonna hit, somebody's gonna get lucky. So I'm just showing you the matchup. He's got a good matchup. Then we get to the Washington football team. What a name. I hope they find something good for next year. They were the sixth worst against the pass last year. They're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles with Carson Wentz. I don't care what anybody says. Wentz is a decent quarterback. He can throw the ball around. He's fairly accurate, and he can run. But his wide receivers, they've been a little banged up. Alshon Jeffrey is out. Still got Deshaun Jackson, who's getting up there in years. You got Jalen Rieger, who is a rookie, but is supposed to be really good. And then you got your tight end, the stud, Zach Ertz. Yes, fire up some Zach Ertz. Do love some Ertz. If you don't play anybody else on Philadelphia, look at playing Ertz in your tight end position because he's not the cheapest guy, but he's not the most expensive guy. He can rival right up there with George Kittle with what he can do. So where you'd have to really pay out to get George Kittle, and you can save some money to go to Zach Ertz. I would go to Zach Ertz if you need the money to save. If you've got the money to pay to play George Kittle, play George Kittle. If not, try to get Ertz in there. Then let's exploit the Seahawks, shall we? Opposing quarterback Matt Ryan with the Atlanta Falcons. You got Julio Jones and you've got Calvin Ridley right there, wide receivers. For the tight end, you got Hayden Hurst, but I'm not interested in Hurst in week one. I think Matt Ryan likes to develop a little rapport with who he's throwing to, and it needs to be a little bit of game action rapport, not just in practice. So I'm not on Hayden Hurst. Only targeting for the passing game is Julio and Calvin Ridley. And I do like some Matt Ryan. I do see him throwing the ball around. The Seahawks defense is not what it used to be. It is not the Seahawks defense of 7 years ago. So get that out of your head. Just let it fall out. They're not as good as they used to be. Still a decent defense, but Matt Ryan, that Atlanta offense, I look for them to have an awesome year, an explosive year. So fire them up with confidence. Then let's exploit the Colts. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew, mustache. Yeah, I like the Jaguars. They should do fine. What we're hoping for is maybe the Colts jump out with a lead, and then the Jaguars have to try to come back, and if they do that, they're going to be throwing a lot. Their running backs, I don't know. Your guess is good as mine. They let go of Leonard Fournette, who really wasn't doing that great for him. I think he was more of a distraction in the locker room that was doing more harm than what he was doing good on the field. So they may have to throw a lot. You got DJ Shark, D.D. Westbrook for the wide receivers. That's pretty much all I would target in the passing game. You could play Minshew too. But the hopes is that the Colts would get out to a big lead and they have to just keep throwing. That's where the Jaguars in previous years, like Blake Bortles had that awesome year because the Jaguars were always behind and he would just have to be throwing at the end of the game to try to come back. So he put up big numbers, even though he sucked. All right, now, worst defense gets a pass. The Falcons. Opposing quarterback, Russell Wilson. Wide receivers, Tyler Lockett, Metcalf, and you can use a tight end, Deasley. So if you look at right here where we've got the top teams that are the worst against the pass, we've got two teams that are going up against each other. That's the Seahawks and the Falcons. So I would like to exploit that. I would like to get some guys on both of those, hope for a shootout. And if we got a shootout with both teams passing the ball and throwing it around, you're going to get those points. See, you got those fantasy points. So that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for a shootout with that game. That game may be the top fantasy scoring game. Seahawks and the Falcons. Keep that in mind. Seahawks and Falcons. Target them. The passing game. Passing game. Now let's go to the running back, shall we? Let's scroll down just a little bit. Worst defenses against the rush, 2019. Worst team was the Panthers, Carolina Panthers. Who is our running back? Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders. Jacobs had a great rookie season last year. Look for him to have an even better sophomore season. I love him for week 1. I am playing a lot of Josh Jacobs. Fire him up. Boom. Now, number 2, defense, worst against the rush, the Bengals. Who do we got? We've got the Los Angeles Rams with Austin Eckler. Eckler can catch the ball out of the backfield too. So fire up some Eckler. And then number 3, the Jaguars. They're playing the Colts. We've got 2 guys in the backfield here. Marlon Mack is your starter. Marlon Mack hasn't been a terrible running back. He's produced when he's been healthy. The Colts went out and drafted arguably the best running back in the draft, in my opinion, in Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, everybody's expecting him to be the starting running back. So I put them both there because it may be a nice split. So what that means is buyer beware. I'm not thrilled on playing either one of them, but they could both score a touchdown. It is very possible. The matchup is there. It's a good matchup. If you want to play multiple lineups, put one in a lineup, put the other one in a lineup, give it a try because the matchup is definitely there. Tied for third for worst defense against the rush, the Cleveland Browns. Now we're going to get to the other quarterback I was talking about, that stud QB. But first, the running back for the Baltimore Ravens, Mark Ingram. You also got Dobbins, the rookie that they drafted, but Mark Ingram, he's the guy there right now. Look for him to have a good game against the Browns. But then you got the quarterback, our reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson. He's a little expensive. He's the most expensive guy on the board on Draftkings, but he is a rushing quarterback. Dude's going to run. And when you are facing against a defense that is terrible against the run, you fire up your running quarterback. Lamar Jackson's going to be highly owned in DFS, but rightfully so. Eat the chalk. I said it, eat the chalk. Now, if you're playing in the Millionaire Maker and you want to make more than one lineup, I would eat the chalk in one, and I'd get different in some other ways, in some other lineups. But Lamar Jackson will he's got the best chance, probably going to be your top scoring quarterback for week 1. And if he is, you're going to need him to win the money. But if he's not, you're going to get lucky somewhere else. So, moving on, Seahawks. You got Todd Gurley with now Atlanta. Bad knees, Todd Gurley. I don't know how much they're going to use him, or they're going to try to just keep him healthy. You got Ito Smith right there behind him. Ito Smith is not a bad play if you think they're going to be resting Todd Gurley some, or they may just decide, hey, Gurley, let's just go out there. You're the guy. Let's do it. Bad knees and all. Who knows? But I like targeting the passing games more so with the Seahawks and the Falcons. But Todd Gurley, definitely a good play down at the goal line. If they get down there inside the 5, they may just feed him the ball, and he could get you 2 or 3 touchdowns just that way. It's game flow, man. Game flow. Then we're targeting against the Washington football team. Opposing running back is Miles Sanders, who is your starter. Sanders is a little banged up, so if you think Boston Scott's going to get the workload, fire him up. He's your backup to Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders was a rookie last year, had a good year. He's expected to have another good year this year. But with the little injury news, it is scary. I'm not putting in a lot of Miles Sanders. I don't mind playing Boston Scott for a little cheaper price tag. But buyer beware right there, just because of the injury situation. Miles Sanders could end up playing a full workload, and he might not. And then we're going to exploit the Dolphins, but they're playing the Patriots. Backfield for the Patriots, no one ever knows except for Bill Belichick. Maybe he doesn't even know. Maybe it comes down to just game flow. You got Sony Michel, you got James White, and you got Rex Burkhead. One of those 3 guys is going to go off. James White is pretty much steady where he's going to get you points in the passing game. He's your pass catching running back. Cam Newton, you could see him dumping the ball off to James White quite a bit. And then we could see Sony Michel take the load. Rex Burkhead's another running back that can take the load, or he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Whew. That is scary trying to pick one of these guys. When I say James White's just steady, he's not going to be one of those guys that's going to just blow up the stats. But he's probably not going to be down there at the bottom either. It's just going to be steady. If you are like me and you like chasing those big money GPPs, I would say avoid the Patriots backfield. Even though it's a great matchup, you don't know who it's going to be. And then we get to the Bears. Kind of like the Patriots right now, exploiting the Bears' rushing defense because they're playing the Lions. Man, Lions, you're killing me here. I love Kerryon Johnson. He's one of my favorite running backs in the league. But then they went out and drafted DeAndre Swift. Everybody's loving DeAndre Swift. And then they signed Adrian Peterson. Who the hell knows who's going to be playing running back? It could be all 3. It probably will be all 3. Stay away from it. It's a great matchup, but I'm going to be staying away. Then we're exploiting the Chargers defense with Joe Mixon. Aha! Now we got a stud right there playing against a bad rushing defense. So I do like Joe Mixon today. Joe Mixon is due for a really good breakout year, and I think this is going to be it. Last year, he had a good year, just didn't have the offensive line. I think the offensive line's a little bit better. So I will be firing up some Joe Mixon today. And then last but not least, tied in the 9th spot is the Cardinals rushing defense. And their opponent is the San Francisco 49ers. And you got Raheem Mostert. Yes, I like this matchup. However, you could see some other guys at running back. The 49ers do tend to play the hot hand. So buyer beware on that one too. So that's going to be it for our show. do me a favor, please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to continue to just pump out these videos helping you guys out. I hope this helped you guys out on some different plays and maybe what you're seeing, some matchups that are exploitable. As the season goes along, the matchups are going to be from this season, not what we have from last season, because things change very quickly in the NFL. But you guys stay safe, stay cashing.